Welcome to the webinar, everybody. We'll get started in a few minutes. All right, hello everybody. This is Andrew Snyder with Lutron. I'll be leading the Limelight by Lutron webinar today. If anybody's having any audio issues, or if you're able to hear me, or if you're able to hear me poorly, just say something in the chat here on the webinar, and that'll allow me to see that there's issues. I did test the audio before, so I believe everybody can hear me okay. I'm going to get rolling in about 1 minute here. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please just add them to the chat. I'll address them at the end if I can, and if not, I'll follow up with you directly. As you register for the webinar, your email address was put in, so I'll be able to see who asked the question and follow up with you if I don't get the chance to answer your question today. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. So for today's webinar, we're going to be talking about parking lot and parking garage lighting control solutions using the Limelight system by Lutron. Before I get too much in depth or too much into the details, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. So my name is Andrew Snyder. I'm a system sales engineer with Lutron. I'm based right near our Irvine Experience Center here in California. And my history at Lutron, I was a software engineer on all the products that you see on the screen here, either writing the software for them or leading the software teams for those. In addition, in my spare time, I was a snowboard instructor back in Pennsylvania, where I spent most of my Lutron career for about as long as I've been a software developer. So if you see any products that you know from Lutron's history on the screen, they are all products that I worked on, including on the left here, the battery-powered wireless shade, the Palladium thermostat and Palladium keypad line that you see in the center of the screen, the Vive load controls, that green PAL pack in the upper right, the Dual-Tech in-wall sensor in the upper right of the screen, and then most recently, the Vive hub and the Caseta bridge. So that's a little bit about my history there at Lutron, and in my spare time, I like to climb the mountains on the West Coast. This is me in Oregon, up on Mount St. Helens. So that's a little intro for me, what I've done at Lutron and what I do in my spare time. So let's talk about Limelight for a bit. I'll start by pitching a question to you all. I've got a few scenarios here, and I'm curious to see if you guys can spot any issues with these. Number one, here's a parking lot, pretty well illuminated. We have a few cars out in the outskirts here. Does anyone see any issues with this? You can go ahead and type it in the chat. See some questions popping up here. Yeah, all the lights are on. A few of you called this out. Good call. There's no one here in the space, at least in the center, but I got the lights on bright, spending a lot of energy to illuminate this space. Definitely an opportunity for energy saving. So the problem statement is the lights are on, but no one's home. And an easy solution to that is perhaps adding occupancy sensors to this solution. Nice work, everybody. Here's another scenario. This was taken at Disneyland here in California. Does anybody see any issues? Yeah, nice, Sean. The lights are on during the day. So there's ample natural light in this parking lot, and you can see that the electric lights in the foreground and in the background are on. Pretty simple solution to this. Add daylight sensors. So handful of ways that we're wasting energy, a handful of relatively easy solutions. I'll pitch you one more scenario. Here we got this image possibly taken from a horror movie. This is a well-lit car, the only place that's occupied in this parking lot, but a lot of darkness around it. So I'm going to call this the halo effect. This doesn't feel terribly safe because, yes, I can see my car and I can see the area around it, but it's just darkness all around. And that's something that we don't want to give to people who are using a parking lot or a parking garage with a solution that we design. So a solution for this is to get a networked lighting control system that can perhaps illuminate a group of lights instead of just one light when the space is occupied. So that's where Limelight by Lutron comes in, a networked lighting control solution. And here are the 5 topics that we're going to talk about today. Number 1, I'll give you an overview of the Limelight system. Number 2, I'll talk a little bit about the design rules of the Limelight system. I'll discuss some parking area design challenges that I've seen and solutions using the Limelight system. Second to last, we'll talk about a software package from Lutron called Enterprise View, allowing you to look at interior and exterior lighting controls in one software package. And then lastly, we're going to wrap it up by showing some Limelight-enabled fixtures that are available on the market today. Let's start with the overview. So what is Limelight? Limelight is an outdoor lighting control system that uses wireless lighting controls specifically for parking lots and parking garages. You're going to notice there's some other exterior applications that aren't listed here. Limelight is not a very good fit for roadway lighting or just general landscape lighting. It's really a sweet spot for parking lots and parking garages. And as we get into the specifics, you'll see why. But these 2 applications here are really the sweet spot for the Limelight lighting control system. The system is comprised of 3 separate products. I'm going to go through these 3 products one by one. We're going to start off with the gateway. The gateway are the brains of the system. This is a product that's available in two flavors: Ethernet with a wire or cellular for wireless. And the reason that we've chosen to deliver those two is if you have a wired Ethernet connection to deliver an internet connectivity, you should use that, because a reliable wired connection is always preferable if you can. But in the event that drilling holes through concrete might cause you to have to get a structural engineer on site, it could be highly complicated to run a wire in an existing garage. So for that, we offer a cellular solution as well. What does the gateway do? It delivers these features listed here, including scheduled events with a time clock. It connects to a cloud server, allowing you to access this system from anywhere. Allows you to set occupancy and daylight settings in your fixtures. Allows you to group luminaires together to get rid of that halo effect we showed earlier. And lastly, this is coming soon, the BACnet functionality for building management system, or BMS integration, is coming in the near future. Those are the 5 features that the gateway enables for your system. The second product I'm going to talk about in the lineup of 3 products is the external mount node. So this can be attached to an existing fixture. It provides occupancy and daylight sensing, as shown on the bottom of that node on the left. That's going to be able to look into the space and see if it's occupied, see if there's ample daylight so that it can dim the light, and it can also measure the power being used by the fixture so it can deliver energy reporting statistics. The exterior mount node does 0 to 10 volt dimming, and it can also switch. So if you have a non-dim fixture, this will be able to switch it on and off. Same node, that's not a different model number. It's the same product, can do both dimming and switching. And there are 3 different lens offerings for the Limelight external mount node: low, medium, high, and the total range of mounting heights that gives you is 8 to 40 feet. So the third and final product in the Limelight product offering is the interior mount node. So this has the same features and functionality as the external mount node, but this would come installed by the fixture manufacturer. So instead of buying a fixture and then buying a Limelight external node, you would simply purchase the Limelight enabled fixture directly from the fixture manufacturer. Otherwise, all the features are the same, including occupancy, daylighting, dimming, switching, and the mounting heights. So no differences in the feature set there. The interior mount node cannot be installed in the field. There is RF testing that needs to be done by the fixture manufacturer. And when we work with fixture manufacturers to build this in, we will instruct them how to do that RF testing to make sure they're shipping out a reliable fixture into the field. So just to reiterate, the internal mount node is only installable by the fixture manufacturer, not by the contractor on site. Using the Limelight gateway, you can monitor the Limelight system to look for different interesting characteristics. And the way that you would do that software monitoring is in one of 2 ways. Number 1, you would use a standalone web interface that is available for all Limelight systems. It comes standard just by the nature of you having a gateway. You can log on to limelightbylutron.com. You could go there if you'd like today, but you won't have a login for it. So if you have a system, you'll be able to log in and see the status of your system. So that's option number 1 if you're just doing a parking lot solution. But if you connect with Enterprise View, you can look at your parking lot lighting and your interior lighting together in one software platform, and that's called Enterprise View. The benefit of using that is you get one software sign-on, one login, and that allows you to see the health of the lighting control system for your entire campus, not just for your parking area. So why use Limelight? There's a few key features I'm going to call out here. Number 1, the design is simple. So how many nodes, how many sensors do you need? The answer is simply 1 per fixture. Very easy. Count the number of fixtures, that's how many nodes that you need. Wireless communication. So this picture that's shown on the right here, There's no wires being run between the fixtures for communication. That's all done wirelessly. Of course, they still need wires for line voltage power, but there's no communication wires needed. The ease of use for facilities managers and for systems owners. All of the Limelight systems are connected to the internet, allowing you to log in from afar and see if there's anything that needs to be addressed in your system. And if you want to do manual overrides for various reasons, which we'll get to, you can do that all over the internet as well. That halo effect I showed earlier with an environment that we deem to be unsafe, kind of representative of a horror movie, this is something you can address with the Limelight system by clustering various fixtures together. So enhanced safety is the fourth reason, and the last reason, energy savings. Save a lot of energy by turning off these lights when you're not around. It's a pet peeve of mine traveling a lot for work. When I fly into a new city, perhaps 9 p.m. or something, and you get to see all of the parking areas, the parking lots, the parking garages in a city that are fully illuminated at night when no one's around. It's a lot of energy being wasted, and these systems, network lighting control systems, do have a price tag associated with them, but the energy savings that you could achieve is massive and may result in a payoff for the system in a few years. Some customers have purchased Limelight systems based on the ROI alone. I'll get to 3 other benefits of the system, and I'm going to start looking at facilities managers. One of the main benefits of the Limelight system is to make facility management easier. Perhaps making the facilities managers as happy as this delighted fellow on the right-hand side here. Why? Well, having one login to look at all of their lighting control systems is a big win. They manage permissions in one place, and they use that login across all of their lighting control systems, allowing them to reduce the amount of time they spend looking things up and maintaining. Lighting fixtures and drivers fail. It's just the reality. Over time, there's going to be an issue. Also, they could get vandalized in these public spaces. And if there are any kind of alerts that need facilities managers to dig in, the Limelight system supports email alerts, allowing them to address the issue quickly, proactively, instead of waiting for someone to complain. And then if there's a special event in the parking area, the facilities managers can override the lights to go all on. Or if they're trying to use their security cameras to get a better view of a particular area, they can send all the lights to 100% so they get a more clear view from their security cameras. So manual overrides are what we're digging in on here. And if you can go out and replace the fixtures and the drivers prior to them burning out proactively by looking at the fixture runtime, that's something that the Limelight system tracks and allows you to look at that data ahead of time instead of waiting for an issue. So the second issue I'll dive into here is energy savings. Now, Lutron has always been about energy savings from the very beginning. Over 50 years ago, the founder of Lutron, Joel Spira, invented the solid-state dimmer. Prior to that, if you wanted to dim your lights, which many people did, it created a great ambiance, they would have to simply dump the energy across a rheostat. Now, that would burn the energy they weren't using, giving them better ambiance, but no energy savings. So Lutron has always been about energy savings, even from the very humble beginnings of inventing the solid-state dimmer, and Limelight's no different. Limelight uses occupancy and daylight sensors to reduce the energy usage of your lighting fixtures. You can have emailed monthly reports showing the status of your system, including energy usage. And just as a reminder, this is measured energy data. Every Limelight node measures the energy data and gives you reports based on that. This isn't estimated energy data. The third and final feature I'm going to highlight here is security. So imagine you were to walk in, let's say off of an elevator, onto this parking garage floor shown on the right here. I have a non-network system. The lights come on above my head. Good, it sensed where I am, and I'm saving energy in the other places. So the system's working as expected, but something just doesn't feel right. I don't like the look of this floor here. What we can do is group the occupancy fixtures together. So if one sensor sees occupancy, it can turn on an entire floor or a cluster of fixtures together. You can also set a custom unoccupied level. So by default, the fixtures will go off when there's no one in the space, but you can set that to, let's say, 20%, allowing your security cameras to have good visibility of the area while also saving 80% of the energy that you would use if they were full on. And again, as we mentioned, email alerts. I'm going to highlight one of the applications we've seen with email alerts that I found particularly interesting, and I think you will too. Email alerts can be used on their own if they're sent to the right person, but there's also some smarter software platforms out there that do things like asset management, allowing you to receive an email alert and generate a work order from it. So just to be clear, the Limelight system supports email alerts. It is not an asset management system. But these email alerts can be sent to an asset management system, allowing them to generate a work order and perhaps send a request out to a contractor to come fix this issue, completely hands-off from facilities managers. So I like to think that if I were a facilities manager for one of these systems, I could be sitting on the beach in Cabo somewhere while my system detects the driver outage, emails the contractor fixes it, submits the invoice, we pay them through the system, and then everything's good while I remain on the beach in Cabo. It's my ideal life when I'm not working for Lutron. So we're going to move on to the second topic here, system rules. So the Limelight system has 4 system rules, which I know these are going to be new to some of you on the call. There's only 4, so there could be 20 of them. We've simplified this down to 4 very simple rules, and I'm going to start with this first one. There's a max of 800 nodes per Limelight gateway. Now, if you have a massive parking garage with 805 nodes, it's not a big deal. You simply add a second Limelight gateway, and you would be able to add both of those gateways under your user account in the Limelight software, so you can look at both of them. So even if you exceed this limitation, don't think of it as a hard limitation. You can just add another gateway and scale up from there. Rule number 2 of 4. You need 3 nodes close to the gateway, where close is defined as within 50 feet for a parking garage, which commonly has concrete dividers, or 150 feet for a flat lot with open air. If you have 3 nodes close to the gateway, you've met rule number 2, so we'll branch up to rule number 3. The max distance from the gateway to the furthest lighting fixture is 500 feet for a parking garage and 3,000 feet for a flat lot. The fourth and final rule for the Limelight system is the max distance between nodes is 50 feet for a parking garage and 150 feet for a flat lot. And I'll just throw out a little quiz question here to see if everyone's following. If you're designing for a flat lot and you want to place the gateway in a mounting location that's not at or above ground level, my question for you is, which of these 2 distances would you use? The 50-foot parking garage limitation or the 150 feet flat lot? I got one answer of 150 feet. Any other guesses? 50 feet from Sean. Sean, I like your answer, 50 feet. So the answer here is 50 feet. And just to explain that in a little more detail, if your gateway is below ground level, you're going to have some kind of an obstruction between the gateway and the fixtures. So yes, we do say 50 feet for a parking garage and 150 feet for a flat lot. But the reason for us saying the more conservative number for a parking garage is because of concrete. So if you happen to have concrete between your gateway and the first few fixtures, but everything else is open air, then my recommendation is to use 50 feet for those close to the gateway rules and 150 feet for everything else. Yes, then 150 feet from node to node because we're in a flat lot at that point. So we do try to summarize all of these in the spec sheet with a handy table that looks just like this. Just know that not every application is so black and white like this. And in those oddball situations, just simply reach out to us. We're happy to walk you through our recommendations here. Just to reiterate, these system rules, if you weren't writing them down, are fully listed in the Limelight spec sheet, which you can find on Google just by looking for Limelight spec. Google is pretty good at finding those things, so we have a nice handy table in there allowing you to see these in addition to the diagrams that I just showed you. So Tom asked if we offer repeaters for the system. We do not. The Limelight system is using a mesh network, so there's no need for repeaters. Every one of these nodes, whether it's an exterior mount node or an interior mount node, will repeat the signal. There is no standalone repeaters. And I'll get to some kind of odd applications where we can start to apply those in novel ways a little bit later in the presentation. But no, the three products I showed earlier are the only three products in the Limelight system. There's no standalone repeaters. They all act as repeaters. Before we switch to our next topic, I'm going to give you guys an example sequence of operations that this is what you would typically see in a parking lot or a parking garage. You would start by having things we call reactive events. Now, these are things based on sensors. They react to people in the space. You want to dim the lights if there's adequate natural lighting, turn the lights on automatically due to occupancy, and turn them off or to a low level due to unoccupancy or vacancy. Second thing is scheduled events. I might want to sweep the lights off to a lower level. So maybe during the day, I want to achieve a certain foot candle level. And during the evening, when it's less likely to be occupied, my desired foot candle level would be something lower, since I don't really need that much. But scheduled events are an available feature here. And with those scheduled events, not only can you change the light levels, you can also enable and disable sensors as well. So if you want to have occupancy enabled at certain times of the day and disabled at others, that's a feature using these scheduled events. And lastly, for an example sequence of operations, grouping fixtures together so that if one sensor sees you, all of them operate together. We've addressed that a few times now, so I won't bother digging in too much more on that. Okay, so here's taking some experience I've had working on these projects and giving you some solutions to common problems people will run into. Let's get into some design challenges. Number one, I have parking lot fixtures in this parking lot shown on the right-hand side here, but I'd really like for the parking lot fixtures to turn on when someone leaves the building. Now, if you notice from the orange bubbles, the occupancy coverage of these fixtures is not sufficient to see people leaving the building. So what do I do? The fix I recommend here is to use remote sensors that are not connected to any lighting fixtures. They're simply sensors to be mounted outside of the building. So again, these are not connected to a driver. These are simply powered up, looking for occupancy, and then they would tell the system when occupancy is detected to turn your lights on. So this is highlighting the ability of these Limelight nodes to be used outside of a lighting fixture. Design challenge number two. If I have a fixture that I want to use in my parking lot or my parking garage, and I don't see Limelight enabled on the spec sheet, there's two solutions that I'll offer you. Number one, we have an OEM team that's dedicated to getting Lutron equipment into third-party fixtures. This is something we pride ourselves on, and we've been doing for a long time with our suite of Lutron drivers. This is something we have experience on, and we have a lot of relationships with fixture manufacturers. So if you have a fixture that's not Limelight enabled that you're partial to, simply reach out to us. We'll engage our OEM team, and we'll talk to that fixture manufacturer to get the equipment built in. But in the event that you need it immediately, or our OEM team, for some reason or another, can't get it built into the fixture, my second solution is use the exterior mount node. This can be field installed by the contractor on site. Available as a retrofit option that's UL listed for 0 to 10 fixtures in a 1/2 inch knockout. So this is another solution if you can't get a Limelight enabled fixture. The last design challenge I'll give you is if you're using a fixture like the one shown on the right, we've talked about the sensors that are involved in Limelight. And in this case, there's no great place to put a sensor on this fixture. I want it to see occupancy, but I can't really mount the sensor on the top because that's going to be looking at the sky. I can't mount it on the side because aesthetically that would kind of have look like a wart. So the solution here would be to take our interior mount device without the sensor and to mount that inside of the fixture. So what this is highlighting is that you can use this interior mount node with no sensor. It doesn't require a sensor to operate, although it is typically used with a sensor. So if you have that oddball fixture that isn't the standard parking lot or parking garage fixture, and you'd really like that on the Limelight system, this would be our solution for that. Just as a reminder, the interior mount node is only installable by the fixture manufacturer. It cannot be installed on-site. So let's get to our second to last topic here, Enterprise View. Enterprise View is Lutron's software solution that pulls in various systems in our commercial lighting control platform into one interface. So some of you might be familiar with Quantum or Vive in addition to our Limelight system. Vive is our commercial simple wireless system, and Quantum is the full-fledged wired wireless hybrid system. So if you have one building with Quantum, another building with Vive, and a parking structure with Limelight, you can look at that entire system together in one software platform called Enterprise View. Let's dig in a little bit. So you'll notice on the top left that I have this dashboard. This is the landing page for Enterprise View. What this highlights on is actionable data. When you're looking at multiple buildings and parking areas, you're going to have a lot of data at your fingertips. And us just doing a data dump would not be terribly useful. So we spent a good deal of time with our user experience team interviewing customers and boiling down the data into what truly matters for you to act on, actionable data. And what you see in the upper left there is the trend of alerts over time. So there might be a few fixtures out. That would be an alert. And those fixtures might have been out for the past 6 months, in which case maybe we've just gotten used to it. They should be addressed, but when you're looking at the entire campus, those onesie, twosie issues are not of concern. I might want to dig into them if I drill down, but at a high level, they're not terribly concerning to me. What I care about is the trend. And you can see in the top left, it goes from 90-something to 108 alerts, implying that I have gotten significantly more alerts this month than last month. I probably want to dig into that. The second tile there is space utilization. That's for interior spaces, and that allows you to see if your building is being utilized more or less this month as compared to last month. This allows facilities managers to repurpose spaces that maybe aren't being used as much using the data from their lighting system. And then lastly, energy savings. This shows the trend in energy savings over time, allowing you to spot if you're consuming more energy or saving more energy month to month. On the upper right, you can see a campus map. For those of you familiar with Vive and Quantum, you might be familiar with our floor plan, the graphical floor plan. We've improved on that in Enterprise View by giving you a campus map. So you click on the building that you're interested in, and that would allow you to mine deeper, maybe down into the bottom left, into the Quantum View software. So this gives you that high-level map, allowing you to dig in to what truly matters underneath of it. The last topic we're going to cover today is the Limelight fixtures that are available on the market today. So there's been a common question of where do I find Limelight? I'm interested in it. What fixtures are available? I'll give you the master list right here. We have a number of fixture manufacturers that have built this in already. And if you see them listed on the screen here, they are available today. I'll highlight a few of them moving forward with some general guidance with regards to how we do this. Number one, the fixture manufacturers in the previous slide have built and shipped product with Limelight controls in their factory. If they have chosen to use the internal mount module, that has passed the manufacturer's RF testing that we've taught them how to execute. It's up to the Lutron manufacturer's representative to confirm the specific offering in that fixture. So maybe a fixture is available with the RF only option shown with that bollard light earlier, or maybe it's available with the module plus the sensor. Western can help you navigate which offering is available with which fixture you're interested in. So reach out to your local Western rep to figure out what's available for your fixtures. Ideally, everything that was shown on the previous slide will be shown on the fixture manufacturer's spec sheet as well. Unfortunately, as many of you know, sometimes the fixture spec sheets aren't updated as quickly as we would like. It's something our fixture OEM team is always working on, but our goal is to get all of the fixture manufacturers that have Limelight in their equipment to also list it on their spec sheet. We're never at 100%. It's kind of a carrot and a stick approach where we're always trying to chase that carrot and get it on more and more spec sheets, but that's the goal. In lieu of that, please reach out to Western or Lutron and we'll help find the fixture that works for you. And the last general guidance that I'll give you is that the external mount module is available if you can't find a fixture with the manufacturers on the previous slide. I'm going to highlight one fixture in particular, the Alpha Light LVT series. This particular fixture is available from Western, has an IP65 rating so it can be mounted outside, and uses the interior mount Limelight module with the sensor. The three fixtures shown at the bottom, the Cree Lighting IG series, HE Williams VG1, and the Extra Light Viento are in the works. Those aren't available yet, but we're actively working with those manufacturers to build in our equipment. So those are four fixtures that you can have available almost today, one today, three in the very near future that are available through Western. So reach out to them if you're interested in finding a fixture that meets your needs. All right, so I'm going to tie things up just by thanking you all for attending. Again, my name is Andrew Snyder. My email address is there at the bottom. It's asnyder@lutron.com. And I'm going to hang out for a few more minutes and answer some of the questions that have come in. You're free to hang out as well, or send me questions and I'll follow up with you. So thank you for your time. I look forward to questions from you guys. And if you have any questions, reach out to me and or Western Lighting. Let's go through some of the questions. I got one question asking about Zigbee. The wireless protocol that Limelight uses is indeed Zigbee based. So for those of you familiar with RF protocols, there's a lot of options out there, including Bluetooth, Zigbee, Wi-Fi, a whole bunch of different solutions. This is Zigbee based. I don't want to say that it's Zigbee through and through. There's some modifications that we've made to Zigbee because Zigbee was developed as kind of a general purpose, all-encompassing wireless protocol. Lighting controls, we have more strict requirements for how wireless works with lighting controls. Specifically, we want it to be as reliable as a light switch. So if you walk underneath of a lighting fixture in a parking lot, I don't want it to work some of the time, which may be acceptable if you're streaming a movie from Netflix. But I want it to work all of the time as reliable as a light switch. So to answer that question, it is Zigbee based, but it is not Zigbee generically. So Tom had asked, what are the load ratings on the exterior node? To answer your question, Tom, the load ratings are, it goes up to 1,000 watts of load per node. If you're interested in doing a 1,500 watt fixture, we would be interested in getting 2 drivers in that fixture to split up the load, and then 2 Limelight controls so that we don't max out that 1,000 watts. There's another question about voltage, 480 volts. Tom, I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but what I'm going to do is pull up the Limelight spec sheet, and it's going to have the voltages for this listed right on the front. So I'm going to Google Limelight spec. If I hop on down past the gateway ratings, down to the node ratings, this goes from 120 volts to 277 volts. So there's no 480 volt solution today. We might need to employ some kind of a third-party contactor to allow us to control 480 volt load time. Another question was if the cellular version of the gateway also has Wi-Fi. No, there is no Wi-Fi today. So our two options are either a wired Ethernet or cellular. So Wi-Fi is not something we have. If you have an application that could use that, please reach out to me. I'm kind of curious to learn more and how that might work for you. I can help steer our product roadmap with obviously no immediate promises that we'll have it tomorrow. But if we have an application that really makes sense for something and our engineering team deems it to be feasible, we can work on that. So Sean, if you have an application for Wi-Fi, reach out to me, let me know. Are there any installed systems here in SoCal? That's a good question. I'm sure that there are. I don't have a list of them. I would recommend you to reach out to your contacts at Western to figure out if there are installations around here. I do know of a handful of them in different areas of the country. So I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for that, but I recommend that you reach out to Western and we can get a list for you with that. And the Wi-Fi question that was asked earlier about the cellular version of the gateway, we had a follow-up question saying, what about the same question for wired? Wi-Fi is also not available for the wired gateway. There's no Wi-Fi radio inside of the Limelight gateway. However, if you choose to take a wired Ethernet network and wire that up to our gateway for an internet connection, you've met our system's needs. If you then choose to place a wireless router on that wired network, then you can connect to that from some Wi-Fi device in the building. And the Limelight system doesn't need to know about that, but that would give you ability to access that over Wi-Fi. So just to reiterate, the Limelight system doesn't have Wi-Fi support built in, but you can pretty easily add a third-party router to enable Wi-Fi connectivity. Okay, if I didn't get to your question, it might be because I don't know the answer offhand, but I have the list of questions and I'm going to follow up with everybody that I haven't answered directly here. If you have any other questions, let me know. I'll hang on for a few more minutes. Otherwise, if I don't get any more questions, I'll wrap up the webinar. And thanks again for your attendance, guys. I appreciate it. Talk to you all soon. For anybody still on the line that's interested in installations with Limelight, I've been notified that Union Station has Limelight as a local SoCal installation. Thank you to my teammates for letting me know. And if you'd like to make a visit to Union Station, you can check out the Limelight system in action.